The day that my dad died, my whole entire world crumbled. It's hard to explain, but the birds chirped differently, the world smelled different. Even when I rubbed my eyes, everything appeared differently. I needed life to pause so I could grasp what had happened, but life kept going and I had stopped. The more the world would turn, the more I would unravel, and the darker my everything became. I felt like I lost my sense of security, my bearings on life. I feared life, I feared loss, I was angry as hell. It wasn't that I didn't want to live, I just didn't know how to anymore. I needed help. I went to my family physician, and he prescribed me anxiety medication, said, "Take this pill and it will make everything better." I was desperate to feel better, so I did. It made me numb at times, and I liked the fuzzy mind because it made the thoughts that my dad were gone fuzzy and not so sharp. As the days went on, it was harder to keep fuzzy, so I needed more and more. To my unbeknownst, I wasn't healing. I was becoming an addict and teaching myself this is how you cope with stress and hardships life bring. Fast forward a few years later, another traumatic life event. My marriage ended in a fiery explosion, and my family ripped apart. I again rubbed my eyes, and the world looked different. I scratched my nose because it also smelled differently. Sounds were distorted, songs sounded different, music hurt, and my belly was full of anger and sadness. The darkness around me became even more dark, and I was enveloped by sadness. My muscle memory immediately reverted back to my traumatic experience before and told me, hurry up and make your brain fuzzy. So I dove headfirst, straight into the drug world. I didn't pass go. I didn't stop to collect the $200. I went straight for the hard drugs, methamphetamines. Little did I know that this drug would push me to the darkest corner of darkness that you can go. The pain was gone, but it came with a price. You trade a little of your soul every time you use this drug. I lost everything tangible that I had, that I could touch. I lost relationships, I lost respect, I lost love. What cut the deepest that I lost were my children. But something I would learn years later that affected me the most that I lost was when I lost faith in myself. I wandered around the next few years lost and in the dark, disconnected from myself and God, being a less than mediocre mom, being a disrespectful and dishonest daughter, a horrible sister, an abusive partner, an unreliable employee, a thief for a friend, a true menace to society. I wasn't living. I wasn't getting by either. I was stumbling through the darkness, putting one foot in front of the other, trying to survive one day at a time. I wasn't me anymore. I wasn't even a portion of me. All I was being was an addict. It was not the life I wanted to live, but I wasn't brave enough to change. The drug had a hold of me, and its grasp was far too strong for me to break. Each time that I got high, and each day that I stayed high, I became more and more in the dark, getting farther and farther from the person that I used to be and wanted to be so badly. The beautiful present mother, helpful daughter, caring sister, loyal partner, honest and caring person, best friend that I used to be, the girl that believed in God, loved others, and cared about herself. That girl was so lost in this dark place that she resided in, this place that she now called home, until one day I took the wrong turn and got pulled over by the wrong cop and went to jail for someone else's things, without bond. And when the prosecutor told me, you only get one plea, 7.5 years, it was a feeling I can't describe. I lost all sense of my body, of my control, and I cried hysterically. The only words that I could choke up were, I won't see my kids grow up. The only response I got from the prosecutor was cold and rigid. Do you want to miss 7.5 or 13 years of their lives? Your choice. But neither of those to me were options. Even though I was a mediocre mom at best, and that's really giving me credit, I was still getting some glimpses of their lives, and now I wouldn't have any. This was traumatic to say the least, that I no longer had an option. I couldn't even revert back to my coping skills of numbing and making my mind fuzzy. I was forced to deal with the pain, and let me tell you, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It was agonizing beyond words. To know I was going to miss out on my kids growing up. When I got to Perryville, I knew that this wasn't the place for me. They put me on Lumley, for heaven's sake. I was surrounded by life sentences and girls that had made lives there. I didn't want to be there at all. I didn't want to build a life there. I had two choices, either conform and fit in and make a life there, or stay to myself and change. I'll never forget laying in my 2x2 bed in the dark, just me and my thoughts, and I began pleading to God, I'll do whatever you ask me to do, God. Please help me change my life. I never ever want to go back to this again. Please, God, change my life. Prison was the first place that I really heard God's voice. It wasn't a voice per se, and it wasn't my voice. It was more like a feeling that when you know for sure over 150% where it came from, and I started signing up for every class that I could take, from parenting to wellness recovery, to the 12-step program, even Celebrate Recovery. Before I knew it, I had stacks of certificates, stacks of accomplishments saying how much work that I put into my recovery. I was alone on this journey to find myself and to rebuild. I feel like the solitude was purposeful because it allowed me to focus completely on myself within. I was on God's time, and He had a plan for me. After a few years behind bars, I began rebuilding relationships with my family members through phone calls and emails. My mom, my daughter, my son, my partner, they would all tell me I sounded different and acted differently. My daughter would say, Mama, forgive yourself. We forgive you. She would plead with me, please stop living in the past. It makes you always sad and I can't take it anymore. I wanted to, but I didn't know how. My guilt from the past kept pulling me backwards, back into the darkness, and I didn't know how to forgive myself. So I'd pray and ask God, please show me how. I was offered the opportunity to work at Televerde and grow in ways that I couldn't imagine. I was surrounded by women who were empowered, strong, and so much farther in their journey than me. Women who were living in the light. I wanted to be them. They inspired me so much, and I had a goal. God put these women in my life at just the right time and answered my prayer. Their strength showed me that it is okay to let go of the past and move forward. All these women who had lived in the darkness just like me, but they weren't stuck. They were empowered and so strong. This made me realize that I can still be someone I can be proud of, a woman my kids can be proud of. I wasn't defined by my past or branded. I knew that life was behind me, but I didn't really know the magnitude of how much I had changed until certain people came back into my life, and I realized all the resentment and anger that used to consume my body and filled me to the brim was no longer there. When I thought about the circumstance that brought me to prison, all the anger was gone and replaced with gratitude. When I thought about all the people that had hurt me throughout my addiction and how much I used to hate them, the hatred was gone and replaced with forgiveness. When I recalled all the hurt and pain I delivered to anyone that crossed my path while I was getting high and stuck in the dark, I was filled with determination to show them better. That realization was my wow moment, and the moment I realized that I had really changed. I was not just changed, but I was so much stronger, and I had overcome the darkness, and I was now living in the light. I learned this quote, and it's so fitting. Throwing stones at me from my past are like throwing someone else's stones at me. They don't affect me because that's not the person I am anymore. This saying has so much meaning to me because I was once that stuck girl, and now I'm free. My prison was long before I entered the prison gates at Perryville. I had years of bad coping skills, mental and emotional damage that I had to work through. Just like when you put your valuables locked away in your safe for protection, God was doing the same with me when I went to Perryville. See, I needed the world to stop to get my bearings, and now it had. I needed to be alone to rediscover myself. I needed to dig deep and find out who I am and what I'm about. My reconnection with God was so powerful and opened doors for me to reconnect with myself and begin rebuilding my faith in myself. I realized along my journey that what I went through was not a mistake. I am not what I did or even close to the person I once was. But going through all that was the key to get me to where I am today. I am stronger than I have ever been. I am filled with faith and love for myself. I have so much respect and pride for who I am today. I am so capable, and I have so much to offer this world. So my ask is, even if you've been through traumas, you've made mistakes that altered your life, hurt the people you care about the most, maybe even made a decision that took you away from your loved ones, don't allow that weight to weigh you down and keep you in the dark. Don't allow anyone else to make you feel less than the strong person you are. Use your past to catapult you into the future that you were meant to lead. My life isn't perfect. It definitely is a work in progress. But I now have goals, coping skills, and a positive support system. I've reconnected with my kids, and I'm growing these relationships every day. I'll never stop putting in the work. I have found the love of my life that I always dreamt of and once thought was only in the movies. My ex-husband and I are now friends and can enjoy our kids together. I'm fortunate because his family is still my family, and they will always love me as their own. I have acquired the best extended family through my daughter that a person could ask for. They support me and love me like I've always been their family. My mom and siblings are proud of me, and we're rebuilding those relationships that were once broken. And for the first time in my life, I have a circle of friends that not only encourage me to be the best version of me that I can be, but they also love me with all their being. So don't give up. Don't stay stuck in the past and live in the dark. And remember that you are more than your journey, and there truly is a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.